finally get one on the ground is nice. That's honestly the first opportunity that I've had at a mature buck. I've hardly seen any.
I can see right now 1, 2, 3 gun shacks. I know 100 yards that way is another one, and 120 yards that way, there's a guy bow hunting right now, guaranteed. This should not be possible, according to everything you read. Let's go walk and show you what's possible.
Food, water, cover. Those are the three things that people need and deer need too. And one of the missing ingredients in a lot of occasions is the water. And it doesn't have to be that way because you can pretty much make your own. Not the water, but you can make your own water source. What I got behind me, I don't know why I'm holding the shovel because I didn't dig this by hand. It's way too big, too deep, too much work for me. But this is a test hole that I had dug with a backhoe for looking to make this into a little pond. But this is a good example of what you can do. This literally took maybe 15 minutes. It's just a couple of scoops in a low-lying area that had some standing water most of the year. Yes, the deer will get in here and maybe drink off the top of the standing water, but when you make a water source like this real easy, convenient, they're going to use it a lot more. Now, not everybody's going to have access to a backhoe. You're not always going to have a spot that has an obvious spring in it like this does. But what we're going to show you is a couple ways to make your own water hole pretty much anywhere, and also talk a little bit about how to actually get water into it. So before we even get into how we're going to actually make the water hole and the materials that we're going to use, first ingredient we need is water. Now, I live in Michigan, and for most of the people living in the Midwest, this will apply. The further west you get, into parts of Kansas, Nebraska, where it can be pretty dry, you're going to have a little bit harder time doing this particular method. But really, if you've hunted the area that you hunt for very long, you probably know where there's a wet spot. And that doesn't mean standing water. It means ground that's always kind of mushy, different types of plants that grow in low-lying areas. It doesn't need to have visible standing water for there to be water. But I know for a fact that in September, October, this is still somewhat marshy. There's not going to be water standing, but it's marshy, which tells me there's likely a spring or the water table is close here. It's not going to take a whole lot of effort to dig down. We could probably dig down 18 to 20 inches and start to have water. But it also, because it's low-lying, we're going to get a lot of that runoff. So what I would do in this spot is I would take one of the containment units that we are going to use to build our water hole, and I would bury it and then give it a couple weeks and see if it's going to fill. And if it doesn't, keep trying all these low-lying areas until you find that one that does. And if you dig down and you're getting water, you're not going to have to put any type of tub or anything. It's going to stay up with water. So now we'll go look at a place where we don't have standing water, maybe not low-lying area, not marshy, which is what you're going to face probably out in Kansas, Nebraska, those western states. And we're going to have to work a lot harder to get our water source wet. Bit better representation of more open country, maybe a plains-like state. I mean, we're still in Michigan, but I'm trying to illustrate what you can do in places where there's not obvious groundwater or lowlands. We got a hill behind us sloping down, and this is about a 15-gallon rubber tub. Got this at Tractor Supply. You can get these at any farm and fleet type store. It costs us 15-20 bucks. This is plenty big enough for a water source for whitetails, and do for antelope and things too, but we're focusing mostly on deer here. All we're going to do is we're going to dig a hole and we're going to bury this so that the grade of the land is going to be level with this back. So if it rains, any runoff is going to get caught into this basin. And then you can also fill that by hand too. So if it's in an area where you can get to with a four-wheeler or something, you can bring some buckets. We can also put a piece of plywood or some sort of cover over half of it to keep it from evaporating quite so fast. It's going to be harder, no question, to keep water in this type of situation, but with that effort, you're going to have the only water in that area. Well, fortunately for me, that was pretty easy digging. It only took about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, but as you can see, we just made it so the gradient of the land is going to fall right into that back edge of the tub, and that will mean any water runoff will get caught in there. And like I said, take a piece of board, plywood works well, put a rock on it so it doesn't flip off, and that'll help a lot with the evaporation. And if you can, keep it in an area where you can bring water to it if you have to. A 15-gallon tank isn't going to take but 3 5-gallon buckets of water, which shouldn't be that hard to bring back and forth. And the deer will definitely use this. Now you can do the same thing right in the center of the woods. Just put it anywhere you want, near a tree stand location. Keep water in it the best you can, and those deer will use it during the rut, especially when it's dry early in the season as well.